It's like having A levels every half a year. Yeah. That's stressful.
As long as we trust the process, then the pieces will start to fall together. And the picture might not look how we expected it to be, but it will still be beautiful nonetheless.
I share with you why lah. Money counts also, sorry. Auntie very, very realistic.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Chatterbox. I'm your host Isabel. So some of y'all have completed your O and A levels and might be wondering what's next for you. So today we'll be talking about studying and what's next. We've got some great guests here today and I'll have them introduce themselves.
I am Daryl. I'm currently a final year computer science student and I am also a content creator mainly on YouTube. But I also post on Instagram and TikTok as well.
Hi, I'm Janus. I'm the adult educator and also a career coach. I'm also a TikTok content creator.
Hi, I'm Jacob. I study business and computer science and I'm a study TikToker.
Let's dive in a little bit deeper into who you are. No stress. How old are you and what educational route did you take?
So I went to junior college for 2 years and I just came to NUS Computer Science for 4 years, yeah.
Okay, I'm the oldest among everyone here. I'm 49. After my A-levels, I went poly, but I do 2 degrees. First degree is Bachelor of Business and the second degree will surprise most people, traditional Chinese medicine. But I do nothing related to TCM.
So for me, it's similar to Daryl's. I'm 19 this year, then I went to JC and now I'm in NUS Computer Science also.
What were the best and least enjoyable moments of your school life?
I think the best and least enjoyable one was actually studying for A's. I actually really enjoyed the grind because I would just study in school with my friends. If we got tired of studying, we would just eat mala or play table tennis. It was the best and the worst part of my JC experience, actually.
During my poly days, my classmate bonds very well. 21 girls in the class, no guys. So that was really wonderful because it's like we do a lot of crazy things. Whereas, you know, most classes will have dispute and stuff like that, but we got on really well. The worst part, I think, is still primary 2 when I learned that I'm going to switch to another school. Yeah, I remember I cried big time when I got primary 3. I was like, where are my friends?
I can start with the worst. I think that one's quite easy. And that is the perpetual burnout you get every time it comes to this part of the semester. This is the period where all your different submissions and commitments all coming together, like some climactic end to the semester. And because I'm like final semester right now, right, I've been through this pretty much 7-8 times already. If I could give you a way to describe the feeling, right, it's like having A levels every half a year. Yeah, that's stressful. Things that I do enjoy, basically not really study related like you. It's mostly just fooling around in school. You're not bogged down by the adult responsibility yet, right? So you just take a lot of the time to do a lot of exploration into what you might want to do in the future as well.
Now we're going to move on to a little bit of an icebreaker game called This or That. I'll give you 2 or more options, then I'll count down 3, 2, 1, and then you will say the first answer that comes to mind. Home clothes or school uniform? 3, 2, 1.
Home clothes.
Such an easy answer, easy answer. Okay, next. Exams or group projects? 3, 2, 1.
Exams.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Why y'all don't like group projects?
Because you're reliant on other people.
If you happen to show that you know a bit more, then everybody will go to him and then, you know, just, could you help me with this? I don't know how to do that. Then in the end, it becomes your work. Might as well just do myself, right? Right.
I guess some of the experiences where I didn't feel really good was when I was not able to perform up to task and my group mates, they sort of like offered to take that workload off of me, you get what I mean? So you kind of feel bad.
Yeah.
Because examinations, if I fail, and that's my responsibility, it's not someone else's, so I don't really have to bother.
Do you prefer to study at home or outside? 3, 2, 1.
Outside.
What is the weirdest place you've studied at?
I studied at a rooftop in school once. Me and my friend carried the table out and we studied.
Wow.
So it was quite vibes. Yeah.
The weirdest place I've studied was during the examination itself.
Huh?
It doesn't make sense, right? It was like an open book midterm. I would just open up my notes and notes that I have not read before, by the way, and tutorial answers that I have not read before. and compare it, like compare it to the midterm quiz that was on the right. Just try to map over like knowledge.
I used to study at McDonald's at Changi Airport because my mom used to work there. So she would drop me off in the mornings, and because the coffee is refillable, I would just sit there until they kick me out.
Okay, the coffee is refillable.
Yeah, the coffee is refillable.
I think
in the
morning,
morning,
right? Yeah, morning. Breakfast, yeah.
Yeah, I got super hyper, so I could really study. Next question. Do you prefer handwritten or typed out notes? 3, 2, 1.
Typed
Handwritten.
out. Yeah, I'm too lazy to write stuff down nowadays. Like typing is.
What about y'all? How come handwritten notes are better?
I mean, I think it improves the memory retention. Yeah, and I like the aesthetic more.
Yeah, same.
Maths and science subjects or language subjects? 3, 2, 1.
Language.
Wow, okay, I was not expecting that at all. Y'all are studying computer science, but you prefer language.
After 4 years of computer science, I have come to the conclusion that I'll prefer to appreciate computer science as a consumer rather than being inside of it.
I think the sciences are just a bit dry to study.
I'm dyslexic, so math doesn't go very well with me. I'm more of a conceptual person.
Lectures or tutorials? 3, 2, 1.
Lectures.
Tutorials.
Neither.
I just get really lost during lectures. So it's just one prof talking to like 400 people. But in tutorial, it's a smaller size, so like you can actually stop the teacher when you have queries.
Lectures, because I like to read ahead. So then I'll flip back again. So yeah.
Mr. Neither?
Mr. Neither.
I don't think I really enjoy studying, but if I were to choose one, it would probably be tutorials because there's a lot more interaction with other people in the class and your TA as well. So to me, that's a bit more fun.
Physical or digital textbooks? 3, 2, 1.
Physical.
What? Why physical over digital?
I can highlight and write notes.
You can also highlight
can
on
do it
digital.
on-
Right?
No, it doesn't feel good. It's not real. You know, like when you hold a
Yeah, it's much more
real.
it's tangible. It's much more tangible.
Correct. And then when you want that page, right, you could quickly flip to that
Correct.
page that you want.
But on digital, you can control F.
I think that's one of the reasons why digital textbooks are nice to have. Is that you can just search for the keyword, right? I don't know. I'm also a bit more of a big picture kind of person, right? And if you need any concept, you can just like flip to it really quickly and can see multiple pages sort of at once.
Student leader or not student leader? Do you prefer being a student leader or not a student leader? 3, 2, 1.
Student
not
leader.
A student leader.
2, not 1 student leader. Why do you prefer being the student leader, Janice?
Why? I think I'm pretty good in management, so people with me can complete their projects pretty fast. Yeah, because I'm quite efficient in terms of delegating jobs and work. So I guess, yeah, so sometimes if I leave it to someone else, sometimes, you know, they're going round and round. I was like, that's not efficient. I'll just voluntarily go up and just take over. Yeah. My target is to finish it fast and quick. You know, sometimes they took the longer route, which I cannot take it. Yeah.
I agree.
Well, you, Jacob, why do you not want to be a student leader?
I mean, as Daryl said, like I don't like being accountable for other people, and I'm too beta for it. So yeah.
No alpha energy, Jacob. My goodness. Which one out of these 4 CCAs do you prefer? Uniform groups, clubs and societies, performing arts, or physical sports? 3, 2, 1.
Performing arts.
Wow. What's your favorite sports?
Dragon boating was quite fun. Yeah, I did that in JC. Like, cause you're just rowing on the water with 10 other people, so like you really form really meaningful bonds.
I thought it was going to go in another direction where you say it's just rowing, right? It's a very primal.
I mean,
that's
there's also that. Every time stress with studies, just keep rowing. And
What about you two?
Drama. So I participated in stage drama and so on.
Me too.
Yeah, so that's how why I like TikTok.
Oh, so much drama.
Drama on TikTok.
I like music and dance. So in secondary school, I was actually in a symphonic band. And coming to JC and currently in college, I am in dance. I am in this interest group called Breakiness, where we do breaking. People might know it more as b-boying or breakdancing. Don't call it breakdancing. Yeah, call it breaking.
Last this or that question. Do you prefer the morning or afternoon session? If you could pick. 3, 2, 1.
Morning.
Wow, why all morning session?
Because I'll get food coma after lunch.
Oh.
Y'all have different answers, right?
Yeah, because it means you're done with the day in the afternoon.
Exactly. Then you have like one whole afternoon to do work. To do anything you want.
Very good answers. I would have said afternoon just because I'm not a morning person. Alright, I hope everybody enjoyed that little icebreaker session. So first, let's give some advice to students who are gearing up for their exams next year. What are some studying tips you would give these students?
I think time management is really important. When we do time management, right, we can prevent procrastination. Of course, there are some people who are really good in last-minute dash, but at the same time, you can also plan for things that you want to do outside school so that it makes your life a bit more exciting.
If you don't understand a particular concept, especially in computer science, right, you really have to be thick-skinned and be willing to ask your professor or ask your friends or ask your TA about it. No one gives a toss about whether you know a particular concept or not. Yeah, you pay a very expensive school fees for a reason. You need to use it to its fullest capability. And if people are going to judge you for not knowing a particular thing, right, I think it says more about them than you yourself.
Just don't be afraid to look stupid. And more practically, I think active recall is something that's really important. You just break it down into smaller chunks, then you keep reviewing the content material. So it really worked for me.
What do you guys think about studying with friends and then like teaching each other when you have to? Do you think that's helpful?
Even something as technical as programming in computer science, you can approach a problem with multiple solutions. And being able to think with more than one brain is going to help you a lot more than just thinking on your own.
Everyone sees things from a different point of view. So it's good, to know that, I have never thought of this idea before, never thought of coming from that angle.
Yeah, there's a saying that's like, when we teach, we learn twice as much. I think it really challenges our understanding when we teach our friends, so that's what I like to do.
What are some note-taking methods that you guys do when studying besides like flashcards?
For me, mind mapping, because I'm a very tactile person.
Study techniques?
Study
what are those?
Osmosis. Osmosis. Sleep on your textbook.
Flashcards were my main source of notes. So I would just type everything into Anki, which is an app. So like when I'm going home on the train, I'll open the app on my phone.
Just do papers to the point where things become muscle memory,
Speaking of papers, where do you source these like mock exams 10-year series from? And how do you know which ones are best?
I don't know if this one is like safe to say like on air, but like, there's this Google Drive called Holy Grail. So they compile all the prelim papers of all the JCs.
My time don't have this lah. Just go bookstore and buy.
I think a very important question that touches on Jadis's time management skills, right? How does a student balance studying and leisure time?
A lot of people, when they study or work, right, they only do time management for that. But they forgot to block out a time for them to relax and make it compulsory. So which is why a lot of people are getting burnouts.
The idea of burnout was something that I actually experienced very recently, and it's something that I'm still recovering from actually. If there's one thing I've learned about burnout, right, resting one day does not mean you're able to do work the next day. It's not a one-to-one type ratio. You really need to enforce yourself to go through that rest rather than going through the ritual of rest. Which is, a ritual of rest would be just pop Netflix or something. You're very reactive to resting rather than actually taking the time to let your mind sit down, reflect and be at ease. Some people might think that taking a break from doing work or studying for even a day, it's going to set them back. Like they would think, if I studied on that day, I would be further ahead in my progress. I think what people might not realize is that the mental rest that you actually have, it might actually slingshot your progress a lot further and faster.
Yeah, I actually agree with what you have to say. So like for my A-levels, right, 60 days before, I hadn't started my 10-year series yet. So then I made an Excel spreadsheet. Then I would count down all the days. On each day, I would track down how many papers I would do. So I wanted to average about 2 papers per day. But then in reality, I had a lot of days where I just didn't do any papers because I was too burnt out. But actually, it turned out fine, even though I had so many days where I did 0 papers.
What would you say to someone who feels guilty about not studying?
My frame of mind would be to question yourself whether you're guilty that other people are doing it, rather than whether you're guilty just because genuinely, you could be doing more. People might feel guilty about not being productive or not studying because other people are working hard, and that's what they see. And they see other people working hard and they themselves not working hard, then they're thinking, damn, I am being lazy. A lot of students especially, they have imposter syndrome because they constantly compare themselves to other people. It's a very natural thing to do, but I also like to tell people that you might be in the same setting right now, but you might have drastically different starting points. Someone might have a better socioeconomic status than you. They might have been able to afford more tuition. Their parents might be more educated. In that sense, it would not be fair at all if you compare yourself to someone else.
I think you just have to look at the bigger picture. So this one day, in the grand scheme of things, it's really not a lot.
I think there's a deeper question: where does the guilt come from, and why is resting a bad thing? Because I remember doing a career coaching for someone who is planning to start his own business. He said, yeah, I think I should rest, but I feel guilty resting. During my coaching, I usually will do something called emotional freedom tapping technique. It's a technique that helps you to find your trigger. He did that and he realized that it comes from his childhood. His dad was being retrenched and his mom was the sole breadwinner. She asked the husband, when are you going to look for a job? And he says, I'm just resting. What's the big deal? The mom said, you're not resting, you're just being lazy. That got into the brain of the little child, and to him, right, he equated resting as laziness. So I said, perhaps you don't want to be lazy. It's not that you don't want to rest. There's two different things altogether.
What would you say to students who are feeling discouraged because they're currently struggling, like academically?
I think you should just keep trying and just keep persisting with it, because everything that's somewhat meaningful or somewhat worthwhile will come at the other side of whatever hardship you're facing.
Your studies do not equate to your self-worth. Because how much value you have as a person, it comprises so much more than that. Whether you are a kind person, whether you have compassion, whether you have innate skills that cannot be measured by something quantifiable like results, right?
What would you suggest to someone if they no longer want to continue their course of study? Daryl here has chosen computer science and doesn't really like computer science anymore, yeah? Like, what advice would you give to him?
If you're someone that has just started out, like you're a year one, you still definitely have avenues to change your course. But let's say you're someone that 4 years in, like you're in your final year of university and you don't really want to do something related to this degree. You just need to try different things until you find something that sticks. Once you find something that sticks, you really need to go and dig around on Google and ask people around you how you can potentially succeed in this particular craft. For example, let's say I want to be a content creator instead of being a software engineer in the future. Then you go kind of look around, okay, how do I earn money as a content creator? You can go to LinkedIn or you can go to Glassdoor where you see, job descriptions. Job descriptions are a very good indicator of what you might be doing in a particular job, right? And be honest with yourself. Don't give bullshit reasons on why you're not starting something. You actually have to do it.
I think the experience you have in your course is not limited to just your academics. You can still join a lot of student interest groups outside of your faculty itself. For example, I'm taking computer science, maybe I can join some performing arts or something. You don't have to confine yourself to just your course itself. So you have to find ways to personalize it to your own interests.
It doesn't mean that you can't learn your skills elsewhere. Yeah, especially I think in Singapore, we are very blessed with a lot of courses, and nowadays we even have online courses like Udemy, Coursera. Learning need not always be an official kind of a route.
So there's this quote I really like, is use the weekend not to escape the life that you live, but to build the life you want to live. There's so much time outside of your course and your studies to just explore different avenues. So just make full use of it.
Let's give a round of applause to our Gen Z Confucius here. Wow. Thank you guys so much for all those tips. I'm sure everyone in the audience has found them very helpful. Let us know in the comments below if you have any more helpful tips to add. Next up, we'll be moving on to discussing what's next after your exams. The paddles are out, and we all know what that means. It's time for a quick game of fact or cap. Let's talk about some pathways that you can choose after post-secondary or post-tertiary education. The green side is fact or truth, and the pink side is false or cap, as the Gen Zers like to say. First statement. There are only 2 pathways for Singaporeans to further their studies after their O-levels. They can either go to junior college or JC for A-levels, or go to polytechnic for a diploma. Fact or cap? 3, 2, 1. All cap. What is the correct answer then?
You can go to technical college. Okay, I mean, honestly, that's the scope of my knowledge right here.
That's right. You can go to ITE for technical courses.
Skills.
There's also private schools.
You can also do your International Baccalaureate or IBs in different JCs in Singapore, or you can go to art schools like LaSalle or NAFA to continue your studies. Next one. There is no way into the workforce with just an A-level certificate. Fact or cap? 3, 2, 1.
Cap. That's cap.
There are all kinds of jobs out there that accepts people who have not finished A-levels and so on. They can always take up courses to upskill themselves later on and move on and do a career switch.
JC is the superior route compared to poly. Fact or cap? 1 cap, 2 cap, 3 cap. All right, Jacob, our Gen Z Confucius, why do you think that is cap?
You thrive differently depending on your character. So I have a lot of friends from poly who actually thrive there. You get actual work experience. You get to go for internships also. I think it's really up to the individual.
When you actually get a diploma, it's way more usable than A-levels, right? Let's say you do your A-levels and you don't even get into university in the first place. A polytechnic is superior, right? But then A-levels gives you that shortcut into university and a higher percentage chance of getting into a college, right? Like, neither one is truly superior to the other.
So it's very subjective, right?
It's subjective to what you want to do.
Okay, we're down to the last factor cap. Ready? I can study overseas if I only have an O-level certificate. Fact or cap? 3, 2, 1.
Okay, I have no clue.
Okay, I think I'll put half. I share with you why lah. Money counts also, sorry. Auntie very, very realistic. That's why I put like this.
But academically, it's actually
it's
it's
possible.
a fact, because you can take a lot of foundational programs that give you an extra year or 2 of study to get into courses into the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. We're gonna put the paddles away now and move on to a bunch of questions talking about what's next after your O and A levels. So what are some factors you should consider when you're choosing a school or course? Let's hear from you, Jacob, since you had to do it the most recently, right?
I think if you're not sure what you want to do, then you can't go wrong with picking a general course. So for me, I just picked PCME because it's the de facto course if you don't know what to do. It equips you with a lot of skills that are applicable to a number of industries.
The way to find out what you want to do in the future is to just try a lot of things that you might have some semblance of interest in, because that's something that, that's at least how I did it to find out what I wanted to do in the future.
How did you end up choosing, the route or school that you decided to go to eventually? Like, you guys chose your different universities, Jadis did A-levels, then poly, then getting a degree eventually. Like, how did you choose that?
I just wanted a general course. So I wanted business. Then I wanted something on the side also. So I was just watching all these university YouTubers like Dagoyaki.
Oh.
And then I was like, oh, computer science, man.
Meeting his idol in real life.
Yeah.
I feel like NUS Computing should give me a commission. Because this is not the first time I've heard people joining computer science because of me. I was at the NUS open house one day with my bunch of friends, right? It was hot that day, it was really hot. And we're just thinking, hey, let's go into this air-conditioned room. And it just turns out that they were having a computing talk in there. They were talking about it and I was quite interested because it was like, hey, you can be a game developer. I play video games, right? And then they also showed the chart, the holy chart that would rope in a lot of computer science undergraduates. The chart where it says computer science undergraduates, fresh grad pay. Third, top 5.
That's a nice chart.
That's a nice chart. I just put it as my first choice.
Right.
So if I can give a tip for anyone that's going through A-levels, right, is to actually do some research And by research, I just mean Googling, instead of just choosing a course blindly.
How would someone balance choosing what they want versus what their parents want for them?
I think have a good discussion.
Yeah, and to actually understand your parents' point of view in why they want you to choose a specific course. I believe Asian parents, a lot of them, they would obviously suggest something STEM related, because these are things that would help you survive. But I think it's also good to help them understand that in the modern world, right, with internet and everything, there are a lot more ways to survive than just the traditional jobs that will give you that iron rice bowl. I would think that it's good to show them a sort of a proof of concept that what you're doing works.
What about you, Jacob? Did you have a discussion with your parents before you chose what subjects you wanted to get into?
Yeah, I definitely did. Actually, my parents wanted me to take up medicine, but like I didn't even take biology in A's, and I really can't do all this memorizing. So I think it really just comes down to having an open discussion and like communicating openly with your parents about what you're interested in and what you're not interested in. And if they really still can't see your point of view, I think just do it first, then apologize later. Yeah. So yeah.
Speaking of parents, based on your experiences as students, what are some of the best ways parents can support their child as they study?
I think parents need to know what role they need to play at a certain point of their life, because at a certain age, of course, they need to be the person who lead. At certain times, right, at Jacob's and Daryl's age, they cannot be the one who's always leading. They have to learn how to walk by the side and walk in an empathetic mood with them.
I'm quite lucky because my parents have always been like really supportive of me. I think one of the biggest things that they've done is they're always there to listen to me, like if I want to talk to them about anything. So yeah, I think just like being understanding to your child will like really go a long way.
What is one advice you would give to the younger generation?
It's really cliche, but it's something that I started to learn when I was studying for my A-levels. As long as we trust the process, then the pieces will start to fall together. And the picture might not look how we expected it to be, but it will still be beautiful nonetheless. So yeah, I think just focus on the process and less on the outcomes, and then good things will start coming your way.
My God, so cheap.
Man,
How do we follow that up?
I was trying to think of a shitposting thing to say. Guys, my fellow young ones. Okay, wait. On a more serious note, think for yourself. You might get peer pressure from other people. You might feel pressure to study and be productive because of other people. Other people are going to earn more than you, and that's going to give you pressure. But all of that doesn't matter because they are not living your life. You are.
Whether you're successful or you fail, it doesn't define you. It's not your identity. It's only a feedback of your actions to see, whether you're doing it right or wrong. Which means you pass your A-levels with flying colours, it doesn't mean who you are. Neither does a failure define who you are. It's just that you've done it right or you've done it wrong. If you've done it wrong, just make correction and move on. As Alvin Toffler would say, that the illiterate in the 21st century is no longer people who cannot read and cannot write. It's people who cannot learn, unlearn and relearn.
Any last words?
Like, share, subscribe to Jagoyaki.
All right, that's all for tonight's episode of Chatterbox. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next episode. I'm your host, Isabel. Good night and goodbye.